Hey guys, this is Lord Baconite, and Liquid Winch requested a command block tutorial, and so I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the different command blocks and how to start with a basic function. Now what we have here in front of us are all the different types of command blocks. We have the impulse command block, which will run one command once given a single redstone input. And you see kind of has an arrow. All of them kind of look like they have an arrow. That's because any other chain command blocks that are placed in front of it will also run off any impulse, off any chain, or repeater, or any chain. So they will all run upon the input from the starter command blocks. Now the impulse will only run once, one time per input, but the repeater command block will run 20 times a second. Which is handy for very fast clocks with no redstone. Much more server friendly. And aside from that, since we have these chain command blocks, it will also run every single one of these chain command blocks 20 times a second in sequential order as they are placed with a 1 tick latency between command blocks. Alright. Now for the chain command blocks. Chain command blocks are used to run subsequential commands in a row. So if this is the repeater, it will run that one and that one. Non-conditional chain command blocks, which you see right here, will run its own command and start off the next one, regardless of whether or not the one before it passes or fails. The conditional chain command blocks will only run their own command, provided that the previous command block, rather it be any of those three types, passes. If it fails, this chain command block will not run its commands. However, the command blocks that follow after will still run, unless it is also a conditional command block, which in that case would fail because the one before it failed, because that one failed. It lets you get into a little bit of logic. The only time this command block will pass, it will run its commands, is if the command block before it is successful. So let's get into a little bit of the commands. There is a few selectors before we get into arguments. There is @P, which selects the nearest player, @A, which selects every player, @E, which selects every entity, every loaded entity in the entire world, @R, which selects one random entity, one random player in the world. Now you can use different selectors or arguments after that. So at the nearest player, whose name is Lord Baconite, as an example. But let's go ahead and write one. I'm going to make this command blocks run the command /say @P says hello. That should run the command say by this command block, which is currently at the symbol. Lord Baconite says hello. And there we have it. Now we can run the same command over here in this repeating command block, and it will run 20 times a second. Yeah, that's fast. So what we want to do with these is make a function, and that's where our selectors are going to get into play. And for selectors, we could do @P, put our selectors inside brackets, say name equals say. Now it's not going to run because there's no @P name equals say. But if I put my name equals Lord Baconite, then, nope, look at that, it ran. So let's make a scoreboard objective to start our function. I'm going to call this one dummy. Scoreboard objectives add basic It is going to be a dummy type, which means it can be any value, any integer, positive or negative, but can only be manually controlled. And we're going to give it a display name of basic in all caps. And so you see it's been created. Let's go ahead and set that to our sidebar. Now it's set there. So if I set my own score to basic, you should see me appear in the right hand side. And there I am. So back in these selectors, let's yell at everyone who has a score of basic at least 1. For that we're going to use our @a score underscore objective name. Minimum equals 1. That means anyone who has 1 or greater. If we did equals 1, it would be everyone who has less than or equal to 1. In this case, I want greater than or equal. And there I am. If I set myself to 0, it will fail. So let's run this command over here again. And then we run into the issue, well, it's spamming. How do I make it stop? And that's where these chain command blocks, and we really get into functions. After you, because we're currently in a loop, and for every loop you need to get out of it. So after that chain command block runs, I'm going to say scoreboard player set. Let's go remove @a score basic minimum equals 1 of the objective basic 1. So I'm going to remove a value of 1 from a person who has a score basic at least 1 every time this command block runs. If you look at that, it ran the command and said hello, and then it set my score basic to 0. And now, since I no longer have a value of 1 or greater, it only runs once. So if I set my score to 3, it should run 3 times. Ran once, set my score to 2. Ran twice, set my score to 1. Ran a 3rd time, and set me to 0. And that is the basics of your command block functions. You just need to, at the very end, make the person not valid. It doesn't matter if it's way out here, it just, at the end, make them not valid. You can do anything you want from here to there. We'll get into executes later, I guess, if you want me to. The main gist is /execute, and then a relative coordinates or regular coordinates. Execute @a. Yeah, a name, and then coordinates based off those names. Then /say hello. And what that did is it executed off of me, because I am the only player online. The relative coordinates, those squigglies, means X, Y, and Z are at my feet. And then it ran the command say hello. And you can tie those into here as well. So if you have any questions, be sure to send me something on Discord, and well, thanks for watching.